Ron, welcome to Tommy Conversations.
Thanks for having me here.
I can't wait to talk about the construction industry because I see a very vast difference between here in Australia and where you're from, Germany.
Yes.
Let's begin with introduction. I know that you were passionate about being hands-on, but you initially chose mechanical engineering.
Yeah.
You did that briefly before switching to Master of Carpentry. What was that like for you?
I guess I didn't know exactly what I was going to do with my life, career-wise. And at that time of graduation from school, it seemed to be a good idea to study mechanical engineering. Mechanical engineers were high in regard and badly needed. And since I didn't know what to do, I just enlisted on this kind of study. And after about a year, or after half a year, it didn't really resonate with me, and I thought I want to do something more hands-on, and didn't aspire to become just an average engineer, but thought of might be better to rather pursue a career in which I'm good at, and something I really like doing, and doing something with my hands or with timber always resonated with me, so I chose to become a carpenter. And this was also good advice from my mom, who raised me by putting an emphasis on or pursue things you like doing. And as long as you enjoy your job and are good at it, everything else in life will unfold in your favor. It's just a byproduct of what you like doing in life. So I haven't regretted it ever since. And
That's a good start. A lot of people hate their first job or their first thing that they pursue, but you happen to choose something that you were passionate about, and got to thank your mum for that, encouragement to pursue what you love.
Yeah.
Now, how long does it take to be fully trained in Master of Carpentry?
The apprenticeship takes about 3 years. I did finish it after 2.5 years because of exceptional results at school and grades, and since I had it a little bit easier because I went to school for longer and got the higher education entrance certification, a lot of things were easy, to put it like that, like mathematics, because I was already having mathematics and physics at university for a while, etc. And this is why I was able to graduate sooner. And once I finished my apprenticeship, I pretty much immediately continued my education on the master school to become an actual master of my trade. Because once you are a certified carpenter in Germany, you can study this trade in depth to become a master of your trade. Mm-hmm. And that's what I wanted to pursue. And in addition to that, I got some kind of scholarship to get a Master of Roof Tiling and Waterproofing degree in addition to that. Mm-hmm. So now I'm proud to have two Master Craftsmanship degrees, and it's good.
It must be great to tap into these two fields, like the roofing and also the carpentry side of things. Now, I remember you showing me CAD, some of the drawings and things that you do, and which we will add for the audience to see, because I think it'll highlight what work in your area is like, when you have to use computers, tools to aid and build.
Yeah.
So let's talk about prefabrication, which is something that you specialize in.
It's simply a way of leveraging current technologies which are available to humanity, so to speak. And Germany is a very innovative country, and invented the first CNC machine for the timber industry. And actually, before I was born, 1984, was invented by a mechanical engineer to facilitate quick prefabrication and manufacturing processes. And ever since, it always became more and more plausible to remain within cost-effective methods to achieve desired outcomes in terms of, okay, we want to build a house. The most cost-effective method is leveraging technology. Each year, ever since something gets invented, it's being utilized to everyone's full potential and gets innovated over and over again, and then other byproducts of certain innovations unfold as well. And nowadays you have a highly skilled workforce tailored to leverage and utilize all kinds of machines and software to gain most benefits. And prefabrication is a tool to establish certainty well in advance in terms of, okay, this is how much material we need, this is how much it's going to cost, this is how long it's going to take, the manufacturing process. You also establish certainty with regards to weather conditions, because you pre-build everything in a controlled environment in a factory. And what is imperative though is you follow strict procedures. The more efficient a certain assembly line or production or manufacturing process is, the more prone it is to faults if you deviate from the process. And with a lot of repetition and recurring designs and details, you can leverage a lot of benefits out of prefabrication. And you create an industry which is tailored towards this most cost-effective approach. And in the end, designs and architects made designs which are most consistent with cost-effectiveness, and basically engineered homes in Germany to be very prefabrication friendly and facilitate cost-effectiveness, performance on many fields. And this way you are also able to provide certainty for the end customer. If it's being prefabricated and does have certain aspects of a commodity, like something that is being produced on an assembly line, there's no uncertainty about the process, the costs, the time, the labor, the material demand, anything. So you know well in advance, okay, this is how long it takes and this is how much it is. And Germany has established an industry where there are no unknowns about certain timelines. You can make timelines 2 years in advance. And if you want a house, then okay, German companies can commit to certain timelines and can do this with confidence and competence. Unless a pandemic hits the world, then it might slow down certain processes. But
which brings to the question of the difference between Australia and Germany construction industry. That's one big contrast, isn't it?
Yeah.
Prefabrication, but construction techniques and materials, training in the labour market. Let's talk about these two categories, the differences between, where you grew up, in Germany to here in Melbourne, now that you've had years of training and working here also in Melbourne. What do you think, how these two categories impact the construction industry? So training and construction techniques and materials.
Yeah, I gained some insight indeed by working and living in Germany as well as Australia, and being faced with the construction industries in both countries. And I think Germany does have a much more value-driven and traditional approach with regards to many aspects, and the education is maintaining a lot of traditional aspects as well as implementing the newest technologies, and not just sporadically another 20 years have gone by, let's just update certain things. It's constantly evolving, and I think it's one of the great differences between Germany and Australia in general are certain economic principles. Like Germany cannot afford not being innovative, and always needs to sort of import raw resources and needs to add value innovatively before providing the world market with a finished product. And this economic premise, so to speak, fosters innovative spirit, not only because it's simply because it's a necessity. You cannot afford not doing this if you are a country that doesn't have any resources. And in Australia, things might be a little bit different, and Australia gains economic performance through other avenues, like a high immigration level or exporting resources as opposed to importing resources. And this led to let's say neglecting other aspects of the construction industry, like education and innovation. And from where I'm sitting and from what I have experienced, Australia is suffering now the consequences of decades of, let's say, complacency and neglect of innovative technological advancements, and lags behind severely and on many different aspects within the industry. So when we try to compare German construction with Australian construction, it might seem to be an easy question, but there are so many aspects to the whole topic. You mentioned material, education, standards, the different climate zones, cultural differences, economic differences, finance, banking systems, etc. So there are really a lot of things contributing to a better or worse performance of the entire construction industry. And education is certainly one aspect.
Yeah.
And education currently meets the current standards of the Australian construction industry, but it doesn't seem to be future-proof in terms of, okay, let's build houses consistent with manufacturing processes that are feasible and more cost-effective, and consistent with performance standards in terms of energy efficiency, or all kinds of other performance standards like fire resistance and soundproofing, longevity, durability, you name it. Australia lags behind significantly, unfortunately. It is very upsetting at times when you...
They have simplified standards, you know, leading to like thermal bridges and mold and energy inefficiency.
Yeah, you could say that. Everything seems to be very oversimplified and outdated, and as if it's outdated is the right word. So at a certain time when the standards were published, so to speak, a long time ago, it was consistent with the technology at that time. And ever since, Australia has failed to adopt new technologies. When I think about innovation and the foundation of the all the innovation and technologies we utilize in construction, in the timber industry in particular, then you could say Alan Turing laid the foundation with computing. The great generation and the silent generation laid the foundation for CNC, for computer numerical control. And this did enhance other people and innovative spirits to invent computer software, etc., and eventually CNC machines to leverage any kind of innovation in technology and to monetize it. And the boomer generation did start to actually monetize the CNC technology with CNC machines. And Australia is still utilizing those things only rudimentarily, and is not leveraging the whole potential of prefabrication, because there's often an emphasis on bespoke designs and custom builds, and this is where prefabrication isn't as good as, because it requires more simple designs and what's known as design for manufacturing and assembly. If you follow certain construction methods and standard details that are more reoccurring than the whole manufacturing process, including the planning and preparation of the actual manufacturing process is more streamlined. So it's not like a toaster that you plug into a power socket, push a button, and then the machine spits out some prefabricated pieces of timber. So someone actually has to virtually build the entire structure, whatever that may be, a residential building, a bridge, a treetop walk, a commercial building, you name it, and everything has to be built meticulously in 3D, and this does facilitate the certainty, the absolute certainty about, okay, this is how it's coming together, and we can see in 3D, okay, it's feasible to build it like this, and now we start the manufacturing process.
Like taking into consideration physics as well, right?
Yeah.
So can you let the audience know about CNC machines? Like, it's programmed, right? Meaning you need to be trained to be able to know how to designate the machine to churn out what. Is that it? So is it timber? Can you designate the machine to make sure the prefabricated timber comes out exactly how you want it? Is that it? Is that why you need to use a CNC machine?
So initially the CNC machines did pre-cut pieces of timber very, very simple. It was just about doing certain length cuts and doing some markings for positioning. But today the technology is it's much more advanced, and you can have weirdly shaped pieces of timber, glulam. It can be curved, round, cambered, you name it, and the CNC machine can cut it according to the data you feed into the machine. So if I have something in the 3D software and have modeled everything in 3D, then this data can be exported into a compatible file format consistent with the CNC manufacturer's machine format, and the machine is basically pretty stupid. The machine just reads the data and knows, okay, this kind of drill or saw blade or drilling machine or milling machine has to attack this part of timber in this position from this angle and drill a hole, etc. And it's some kind of computer numerical control, and I'm not a mathematician, but I like leveraging this technology, and you can reach great speed in terms of prefabrication, and you can have a lot of control in terms of, okay, this is the order in which we want to cut it, this is how we want to optimize things. So the software can even optimize your timber stock to ensure you have zero off-cut, etc. So everything is streamlined as much as possible, and for ultimate benefits.
Yeah, because they're saying for German innovation, prefabrication, precise engineering, and it's like use of advanced materials using high performance and efficiency. Yeah. Now, whereas Australian practices, it's like predominantly on-site framing. With minimal adoption of prefabrication, resulting in maybe higher costs. Now, what is the process of prefabrication? Like, when a client comes to you and says, let's talk about building a prefabricated home, do they give you a draft coming from an architect, and then you go from there? You then advise them as to what's possible? Or you can completely skip past the designing part, because prefabrication is separate to architecture, like designing something that's completely, how do I say this, not standardized. Because, when clients want a home that's, maybe got whatever they want to put in, like, they want an indoor pool, they want all sorts of different things, outside the square concepts. How do you balance, a client's extra features with prefabrication methods? Like, how do you explain to them that prefabrication is probably a bit more standardized? Like you were saying, it's it's got a particular method because it's meant to be a bit more efficient. How do you go about doing that? Because you mentioned that you also give costing, like you do. You have a really good grasp of how much it may cost to build a prefabricated home. So how do you? What's the first step to starting?
Ideally, the client knows what his preferences are in terms of outcome. You either put a great emphasis on a design and utilize your build, dream home, whatever you want to build, you utilize it as an ultimate tool of self-expression, and you look for an architect who can help you with that, who adds a lot of value in terms of, okay, I want to have an architect who embraces creativity and takes me on the journey to have a very unique and award-winning design, etc. So you can go about it like that and just design something which isn't very efficient. It might be feasible, but there's a little certainty with regards to costs and outcome of an actual construction process, because it's a very unique design. And the more intricate in design a house is, the more difficult any kind of estimation, planning, 3D modeling, engineering, etc. is getting. And it's also getting more labor intense the more intricate a design is. So 10 square meter of an easy wall or cladding is not the same cost as 10 square meter of wall that is nested and intricate with a round window and all kinds of weird design features. And what I have experienced here in Australia is that people are putting a lot of emphasis on a bespoke and custom design. And unfortunately, this is not discouraged by the architect very often. So the client and architect are the first two stakeholders in the whole process who set the tone for the outcome. And if they come up with a design and the client gets emotionally attached to that design and both parties are unaware of the actual cost consequences and financial consequences, if you embrace creativity, you can be creative all day long, but if you don't prioritize a certain budget, you might have difficulties later on. You have to redesign, you have to re-engineer, you start over, and the relationship between client and architect turns sour because neither of them have positioned themselves clearly with regards to, okay, this is what I want and this is what I can offer. And if you're a client who says, okay, I want to achieve high performance and ultimate cost effectiveness and perfect collaboration and synergy between all stakeholders, etc., then you need an architect who is specialized in that and works as facilitator to make that happen, instead of just embracing creativity without regards for the financial aspect of things. And there are shortcomings in Australia with regards to that, and there's not enough emphasis on performance. It still is some kind of choice whether or not you want to build a healthy and efficient home and cost effectively. And in my opinion, that's not good enough. It's not value driven. It's too much about appearance and the size of a house and the resale value, and it's not treated as means to provide shelter for yourself and your family. And consistent with most modern construction performances and techniques, not even to mention to the health implications when you build something that is according to a standard that promotes mold growth and condensation and those kind of things. So there are thermal performances of a building that should be the first priority, but often architect and client fail to address that sufficiently.
How do you pitch in? So, can you work side by side architect, or do you think prefabrication is a concept of its own. It's hard to sort of, have that balance strike that balance with creativity as opposed to efficiency. Can a client say, I want a prefabricated home, but then I also want all of the above? I want curved, arched windows, or four floors of whatever. How do you explain to the client that there are things that, if you choose one, you have to sacrifice the other. You can't have both. Is that the understanding between prefabrication and design pieces?
If you want to maintain the same budget, the more design features you add, the more you have to compromise the actual performance of the building. You might achieve your desired outcome in terms of fanciness, in terms of design, but it's too labor intense, and then you have to sacrifice performance. So it's not very truthful if people advocate anything else and tell you, oh, you can have any design and we can achieve a passive house outcome and energy efficiency, etc. This is not a genuine statement. You cannot have the same design and have the same price, whether it's a low standard or a high standard. That's not possible. So you have to know what you want, and ideally you involve an actual builder and manufacturer early on, so you know what the actual product is going to be. For example, in terms of wall thickness, if you strictly want to abide by the Australian standard, you can have much thinner walls. It might be compliant with the Australian standard, but if you later ask a builder or manufacturer to quote the design, then they might tell you, this is not our product, this is not the wall thickness we want to prefabricate or build or whatsoever. We cannot accommodate sufficient insulation. And then you should have known in advance what the desired performance outcome is. Not only the desired design, but also performance outcome. And you have to position yourself accordingly as client as well as architect, because those two people
are very particular.
Setting the tone at the beginning of any construction journey.
Let's talk about
it's unfortunately not the most knowledgeable with regards to technical understanding. There are, in my opinion, very few architects in Australia who are technically very, very knowledgeable and function as what they are supposed to function as, the facilitator to achieve a good outcome in terms of design and performance, to hit that very sweet spot where you have a certain appealing design without making it look like a boring icebox, but also hitting a sweet spot in terms of efficiency and incorporating design principles that are most prefabrication and engineering friendly.
Now you mentioned passive house, which is a standard, right? Sort of a regulation in Germany?
It's a passive house is a performance standard. It's not mandated in Germany. The climate is way too cold in Germany to make it financially feasible for everyone who builds a house to achieve a passive house certification. But it is pretty much the highest performance standard on the planet, because the principle is to build a building that doesn't require any energy. Basically have an energy bill of $0, because it's sufficiently insulated, and with little energy, like from solar panels, you can already cover the energy needs of the building without buying excessive amounts of electricity to maintain an air conditioner or heating system. So that's the idea of a passive house, to promote excellent thermal performance, thermal comfort, sustainability, etc.
And to promote affordability and sustainability.
There are passive house principles that can be applied to any building and should be applied to any building, like sufficient insulation, airtightness, thermal bridge free designs, in the thermal envelope, etc. Triple glazed or double glazed windows. So there are a lot of things you can do to enhance the thermal performance of a building and prevent unhealthy living environments that facilitate mold and condensation. So this should be prevented by all costs.
Yeah.
And the Australian standard is not good enough at present to avoid those kind of conditions. And for me, it's upsetting to know that in such a mild climate as in Australia, it would be very easy to achieve a high thermal performance and health, and yet it's not
promoted.
done. It's not promoted. It's a choice. It shouldn't be a choice. It should be a mandate. So you have to build healthy. Once you have this minimum healthy and energy efficient standard, then you can go wild about fanciness. And Australians have too much choice in that regard. And,
What's the percentage of people in Germany that choose prefabricated homes? Do they publish these kind of information? Is it highly promoted?
It's implicit to prefabricate anything that can be prefabricated. It makes no sense to actually do any labor on site if it can be avoided. I have participated in projects and prefabricated bridges, treetop walks, the most impressive designs. You can plan well in advance, no matter how intricate or impossible the geometry may seem. You can prefabricate everything, and if taken into consideration early on, then this is just a given. There's no second guessing about whether or not it's more efficient to build it on site. It makes no sense to build it on site, whether it's a residential building or a bridge made out of glulam timber or a treetop walk. It makes no sense.
What is the most inspiring project you worked on? The most interesting?
The most interesting project I have worked on was something for the European Space Agency. This was a testing facility for satellites, and the facility was built initially in the 70s, and its purpose is to test satellites for magnetism. And the testing environment for that needed to be a kind of 20 by 20 meter cube that is not affected by the Earth's magnetic field. In order to achieve that, it was a very intricate kind of aluminium and copper structure that shielded the satellite from the Earth's magnetic field. And also nothing in that facility did have ferromagnetic properties. So everything needed to be timber and something that is not ferromagnetic or metal. So that was probably the most impressive and interesting project I was participating in, as well as a treetop walk and bridges and big commercial buildings. So that was very, very fun to do.
How long does it take to start designing the parts to it getting made? Do you have to go minister? Do you have to go to the factories to make sure the timber pieces are cut into the right measurements? Like, do you design things and then have to go follow through on site, or can you just it gets shipped to a different section, so you only design through the computers, but then the next stage it goes to a factory for it to be made? How does it work in Germany when you in your role?
So the engineer usually knows in advance which cross sections of material and which grade the manufacturer is using for the actual manufacturing and prefabrication process, and then the engineer does do the engineering accordingly, bearing in mind, okay, this material is actually going to be used, instead of just certifying or specifying something that the manufacturer is not going to use. And then the manufacturer has to ask the engineer, okay, can you re-specify this? So this is being collaborated on in advance to make sure that design, engineering, and the way it's being manufactured is consistent. And the collaboration and the synergy effect between those stakeholders is much more efficient in Germany. And everything follows a pretty strict order, and you avoid going back and forth to re-engineer something. So this order is pretty streamlined. And then you have your engineering, you have your plans, and then you have working drawings if needed, or you just model the whole structure in 3D right away and create more detailed manufacturing plans accordingly. So you have sometimes files that are just for the CNC machine, and the CNC machine also has a printer who can print numbers, position numbers on individual parts, and you can also have hard copies, shop drawings for the actual staff in the factory to pre-assemble certain elements, and nothing is let's say bigger than you can fit on a truck. And one company I was working for did have a 50-ton crane in the factory, so you could prefabricate elements and parts of a bridge that were up to 50 tons heavy. And you know all of those things, you know your factory layout, no matter what kind of manufacturer you are, whether it's a timber engineering company or just a residential builder. You know your factory and you know your factory process, and then the design and modeling and prefabrication process is accordingly very strategic, and everything is obviously easier if the design is also straightforward.
Do you ever come across moments where you have to change a design because a stakeholder says midway, or you think maybe the climate, maybe you went? Do you go like? Can people come to you with a block of land and say, can you build a prefabricated home for me on this block of land? Do you then have to assess the climate to recommend what materials?
I don't have to do that. That is usually the work of the designer or architect. I think there are builders who could suggest design they have in stock as some kind of standard design or a catalog design. They could offer and say, okay, according to this lot and the orientation of the lot to the sun and the street, driveway, etc., this design might suit you a lot, and this specific location. And if it's a custom design, then the architect need to design something.
Oh, it's good that there's a catalogue of standard designs to kickstart the designing process for the client.
Did you mean specifically in Germany, or
in Germany, like
in Australia?
In Germany, like if people come to you and say build a prefabricated home, and then I take it you talk to the stakeholder, the home owner, and would people often change their mind midway for potential reasons, like they want extra space or extra room? Like, how does it work? Like, it's okay to change the plan, when it starts building, or is it not recommended? Like it's more like you would advise that please just sign. Once you sign off, it's hard to change.
If you have enough money, you can change
anything
as much as you want.
But it goes back to budget, It goes back to time and budget.
Yeah. In Germany in particular, you're very limited in terms of design, and the council dictates a lot in terms of how the house is going to look like, so the overall shape, etc. If it's a relatively new build-up area, it's very stringent, and this is how it's going to look like. Only minor deviations can be done, and everything needs to look fairly consistent. Then there are other areas where you have existing architecture historical buildings, etc., then you have to be conform with those kind of construction practices and designs. But generally, it's already pre-designed, so to speak.
Yeah.
So you have little wiggle room
Yeah.
because it's supposed to be efficient, and there's no encouraging people to design a house the way they want. It's if you are rich, you can get your hands on a lot and design it the way you want.
Yeah.
But it's not common in Germany. It's a once in a lifetime achievement to acquire home ownership at all in Germany, and even before the pandemic, it was most Germans are lifelong renters, so no one is picky about choosing a fancy
Custom
design
fancies.
if home ownership itself is the ultimate goal. So
Yeah.
don't worry about the design. Just
Yeah.
have it as cost effective as possible,
Yep.
and the rest is not
Not on the forefront of what people think about. Yeah.
It really is not.
Yeah, yeah. And now let's go back one step, because we started diving really deep on prefabrication without really giving the audience a bit of a definition for those that don't really understand what that is. Now let's talk about the important aspects of it and how Australia can adopt it, because it's less promoted here. It's a relatively new concept here. When I was reading, it was saying that prefabrication enhances precision, efficiency, cost effectiveness, and Australia can maybe adopt it by standardizing designs, investing in prefabrication technology, and reforming payment structures to support off-site construction. You mentioned, you know, even the German government subsidizes builders, right, in Germany to build sustainable homes. How do you think Australia should see the importance of this prefabrication concept, and how can Australia adopt it better?
I think, prefabrication is a great tool to facilitate efficiency and cost effectiveness and certainty. The thing is, in Australia, since the designs are often very bespoke, you cannot really tap into the real benefits of prefabrication, because the work necessary to facilitate an efficient and cost-effective prefabrication process is very time-consuming the more intricate the design is. And by the time you have set up everything for a smooth prefabrication process, you have spent so much time thinking and masterminding the whole thing in 3D, engineering-wise and manufacturing-wise, that people do not see the real benefit, especially if they do not leverage the full potential. Often prefabrication is being used rudimentarily here in Australia, and only the frames are being prefabricated instead of adding just more to the whole factory process. You could add insulation, membranes, surface cavities, and windows to your prefabricated elements. Since you already have a 3D file, you have to leverage that. You have to get as many byproducts of this virtual build in 3D as possible. If you only do the frame, you put in as much work engineering and modeling everything in 3D without leveraging all benefits. And then there are other discouraging factors in Australia who prevent companies from adopting those prefabrication techniques, like payment structures, outdated and old payment structures. Often the release of payments to the actual client who's paying the builders, etc., are tied to traditional and outdated milestones on site, like a framing stage. And this is not really practical for a company who's prefabricating an entire building, including insulation, membranes, finishes, windows, etc. And then no one gets any money because technically the framing stage on site has not been achieved, even though everything has been prefabricated. Even most work has been done already with the engineering, with the thinking, the virtual build. Everything is cut, material has been purchased and everything is done, and still the bank doesn't release money because framing stage isn't achieved. That's really not helping. Or long-term investments necessary for a factory to do prefabrication are also not very good in terms of how do you call this period when you have to pay off a loan for an investment.
A mortgage.
Yeah,
people have mortgages here.
It does have to be paid back quite quickly, which is discouraging for a company who needs a CNC machine for $1 million, for instance, and it's not practical. It's all very short-sighted and not tailored to long-term value and growth, and this stifles the innovation in the prefabrication department. In addition to the bespoke designs, prefabrication is best when you come up with a design, an engineering, a virtual build in 3D, a manufacturing process, and then you prefabricate the same design repetitively. This would be the most cost-effective in terms of prefabrication. It's
you mentioned they need CNC machines here in Australia to kickstart the process, and you mentioned per CNC machine is about 1 million.
Depending on what kind of CNC machine you are after, there are very different machines, there are already companies these days, more and more companies who try to make a positive change in the industry. So there are fortunately more and more companies, designers, architects, builders, who are very aware of the shortcomings and want to push for better standards than merely complying with the legal minimum standards. That's not to be aspired to. It's there are already technologies and techniques available to us to make better homes, including better construction processes to gain financial benefits, as opposed to trying to Humpty Dumpty everything by let's make it cheaper and faster and throw some more laborers on the market. So there need to be a more comprehensive approach, and it's not as easy as it often sounds. There's a very balance between appealing design and also efficient design. So it's not like a switch. There's a spectrum, and I have encountered architects who are good in taking a lot of technical understanding into the project well in advance. Well, even before it's on my desk as a carpenter, a master carpenter in the office, preparing the manufacturing process. An architect has already familiarized himself with certain aspects of prefabrication, or has worked on several projects already, and knows, okay, I have to design this and this and this, and to accommodate for efficient prefabrication and modeling processes. And there are really many aspects to enhance efficiency.
What do you think are the changes that are needed in Australia's workforce training? Because you mentioned carpenters are very well regarded in Germany, right? They uphold traditions such as blessing a build before customers move in. In Germany, being a carpenter is more than a job. It's like a source of identity and status, respected within society. Now, the education and training are rigorous, requiring not just attendance, but mastery of practical skills and knowledge. So there's no shortcuts. You were saying that, you can't do multiple choice exams. Instead, tradespeople must demonstrate their competence through hands-on work and challenging exams. And then Germany's vocational training system, particularly the dual education system. Can we touch on that? Can we let the audience know what that is? Because I think Australia's workforce training might need to be better.
Australia provides laborers, not professionals who are equipped with modern day technologies. That's basically the nutshell. And Germany has established an exceptional education system by maintaining almost 1,000-year-old traditions from the guild system, including the carpenter's clothing and values, etc., and the appearance and the regard in society. And you're still writing a poem when you build a house, and you speak that poem, and you speak the blessing for the building before the family moves in. And you would be shamed as craftsmen if you are not honorable, if you're not doing good work. And it was easy in the Middle Ages, where you got your earring pulled out of your ear forcefully, violently, to make everyone see, okay, you cannot trust this person because he's a slit ear. So that was a sign for everyone, this person is not trustworthy, not honorable, not a good craftsman. And
that was what they did in Germany, was it?
Yeah, you maintain all of this tradition in Germany, and in addition to that, you keep up all those traditional practices, also like mathematics and stereotomy, projective geometry, etc. So every carpenter is well equipped to apply craftsmanship traditionally, and also is well equipped to apply modern technologies. And Australia is somehow stuck in the 1800s with people who are capable of reading a span table and cutting pieces of timber to a certain length and shooting it together on site. And I think by speaking with apprentices who are passionate about their profession here in Australia, they want to become a carpenter, and they don't get the education they deserve. They are limited by a system that just creates laborers,
and not
consistent with outdated construction methods, and not with modern day construction methods where people have to know about the other stakeholders' preference to enhance more collaboration and synergy.
Yeah.
And it's simply not good enough to have these outdated old education practices. And in Germany, this master craftsman system, like me studying Master of Carpentry, not every carpenter is doing that, but by having enough who are doing it, and you have some kind of, I like to think of some kind of lubricant in between a lot of stakeholders who are very familiar with the hands-on work and the actual craftsmanship, but are also able in terms of how to run a business, the engineering aspects, architectural aspects. So I can collaborate effectively with all kinds of stakeholders. And then there are also, in this dual study system in Germany, there are options to acquire an engineering degree, but also a degree as a carpenter. And this is this kind of a dual study system that puts an emphasis on good collaboration later on, without the need of expensive project managers who need to hold the hands of people on site every day. And that's common here in Australia.
Yeah.
You don't have a very sufficient and highly skilled workforce that can work efficiently and effectively without supervision. You don't have that in Australia.
Yeah, we were saying, based on the conversations we've had with apprentices in Australia, they're saying that they're not being taught much about the deeper aspects of building science.
Yeah.
Mathematics or projective geometry. You were saying in Germany, apprentices in traditional trades are exposed to competitions in areas like complex roof systems, but you were saying Australia rarely qualifies for these competitions.
The Australian education system simply does not have this embedded in the education. It's about some tables people can read up in terms of, okay, this is the angle I have to put into my circular saw and how to cut the piece of timber, but they can actually not calculate it themselves. real carpenter's craftsmanship is being able to calculate all kinds of intricate trigonometry calculations, and Pythagoras, trigonometry, projective geometry, all of those kind of things are not being taught sufficiently in Australia. And by talking to people who acquired a carpenter's certification, it appears to me it's more about attendance and just being present without the need to actually study and demonstrate memorized knowledge. And this is something that doesn't exist in Germany. There's no such thing as a multiple choice test in Germany, where you simply just need to remember in that moment, these three answers sound silly. It must be that one. That's not an exam. That's not demonstrating knowledge and skill. And but this kind of teaching seems to be more common here in Australia. It's not good enough.
Hence the fun fact that Australia has roughly twice as many carpenters as Germany, despite having less than a third of Germany's population.
This is another fun fact. Yeah, it's Germany does have only half as many carpenters as Australia.
And yet, Australia continues to struggle with increasing its housing supply. It's like even when we see roads being built, houses coming up, it takes about a year or two. Just by the time we have to, apply to the council for some permit, and then all sorts of labourers, like what you're saying, bricklayers and all the other, people that's needed, tradespeople that's needed to build a house in Australia, it could easily take up to 2 years. And then not to mention having bank approval, because people have to get a loan. People don't have, we don't have 2 million in cash.
It's very upsetting, And from what I hear often is that the relationship between architect and client often turns sour because of unmet expectations, and everyone thinks, it will be different with us, and this architect really seems knowledgeable, and then in the end, more often than not, you hear that things didn't turn out as expected and as promised, and that's not very, that's not good. It's not good enough.
Would you say Germany's success is partly due to its focus on efficiency and its growing prefabrication market, which is becoming a standard commodity of there? And recurring standard designs and catalogue homes, which you mentioned, and consistency drives up productivity and costs down. We should really try to promote that in Australia. Is there an organisation in Australia that promotes that, or do you think it's just literally everybody doing their part, one at a time?
I wish that volume builders who do offer catalogue designs would leverage prefabrication more, and would really speed up the process, speed up the whole innovation process. But it's not enforced well enough. The standards are not enforced well enough in terms of, this is the thermal performance we have to achieve, and then there's you have too much choice. The government should have more interventions and say, this is the desired outcome. Don't care about how you do it, but this is the performance standard, and you cannot compromise that. And then it would become very plausible to utilize prefabrication, because at some point you cannot justify the labor it would take to achieve that performance standard. You would have to leverage prefabrication.
Prefabrication in Germany allows for faster, more precise construction while maintaining high standards of quality. Now, if Australia does not adapt to modern methods and embrace innovation, it may face an uncomfortable reality. The risk of houses being manufactured overseas by superior builders and imported into Australia. What do you think is the trend here?
That is already happening. Companies are already gauging possibilities to acquire prefabricated homes from overseas. They might be designed and modeled and assembled here in Australia, but there are builders who look eagerly into the possibility to get it prefabricated overseas, because the workforce here is not equipped to change quick enough and to provide the skill and efficiency needed. And it should be a warning signal
Yes.
that if Australia doesn't adopt more efficient construction processes, then easily it will be outperformed by companies who prefabricate overseas.
You mentioned there's so much to cover. You know,
it's a complex, it's a very
it's a
complex
very
topic.
You know, I'm still you know, touching on the first set of notes that we talked about. You know, we've covered, you know, the overall understanding, like the audience will understand the gist of it. But I haven't even dropped the question. You know, what is the most critical difference between German and Australian building standards? I haven't actually asked that question. I have already asked about, you know, changes that are needed in Australia's workforce training. So we're prompting Australia to go think about that. There's a gap there. And we talked about the importance of prefabrication and how Australia can adopt it. We haven't quite talked about how can Australia improve its sustainability focus in construction. We've touched on it. To be honest, the great thing about when you're answering the questions, here and there, you've covered parts of it, all the 6 different topics, you know. What I was saying about, you know, construction techniques, you know, training, market demand, resilience, technology, you know, every time you and I talk about something, it does cover all of it.
It probably stems from the fact that in Germany it's a very holistic and comprehensive approach, considering all the aspects of how a building functions, including the manufacturing process, etc. And there are all things to be considered meticulously at any time. Not just structural soundness of a building, that's implicit, but everything as a whole, an integrated system. The thermal performance, the source of material, the individual components. There have been so many breakthroughs. Meanwhile, you cannot have a single glue in Europe that is promoting cancer or something. Formaldehyde glues do not exist anymore. So there are all kinds of breakthroughs, and everything is covered meticulously to ensure the whole industry is having a very sustainable approach. And it doesn't even need to be advertised or emphasized. It's a given. There is no marketing. It's probably also a difference between Germany and Australia. There's simply no, how do I say this, no phoniness, no bullshit, no deception, not some kind of, oh here, look how good this product is. I mean, if you would take for granted everything architects and builders and home pages and manufacturers say here in Australia, Australia must already have awesome homes, but it doesn't. 70% of all buildings in Australia are not sufficient. A lot of people, more people die in Australia because of heat strokes and freezing to death than in other countries like Scandinavia. Everyone knows how cold it can be in winter, despite being in a cold climate, in a mild, warm climate. So all of these performance standards are not good enough. And yeah, it's I don't know the word.
I think
terrifying. It's unacceptable. It's, in my opinion, with what I know is technically feasible. It's a pathetic outrage. The way the buildings are being built.
We have 10-year-old buildings. Not even on the second year. There's apartment blocks here that have leakage issues. Water's just trickling from everywhere. Mold. Because of leakage
in Germany,
issues.
Houses are built to last generations, and in Australia, houses are built multiple times within one generation. That's not right. It's not good enough. And it's not value driven. And the whole premise is very different. Germany, as I mentioned, it's for the sake of having shelter for family. It's not a means to acquire wealth, not on a speculative ground because of short-term market trends. It's a set standard by the government, and there are also measures in place that prevent speculation and those kind of stuff. It's not desirable for for any society that it is like that. It's a perfect blueprint for when your goal is to, okay, let's distribute wealth unfairly. What do we want to do? Okay, how about negative gearing and this, and inflating property prices and lowering standards? So then that's the blueprint for how to make it. It's not value driven. There's no real value in how houses are built.
It's building things as fast as they can with really not high quality materials, like raw materials. Hence why, second year in, there's all sorts of problems. Yeah.
I'm personally disgusted by the overall approach in terms of how houses are built. The reason why they are often being built and the standards, and it's not good enough. So
it's quite sad. It's a very sad trend. It's because people have to get a mortgage just to acquire the home, and then every year you have to spend 5-digit figures to maintain the home.
I thought about something very terrifying, or I don't know the word. If I would build a house here in Australia, I would actually save money if I was on unpaid leave and build it myself. So this is not the purpose of engaging a builder or trades to build a house for me. I would need a very, very high 6-figure salary to not go on unpaid leave. And it's pathetic. It's a very poor performance of the whole construction industry that you would benefit from not being paid by your employer, but watching YouTube videos and just building a house yourself, because the performance of the tradespeople is not good. It's not an exceptional craftsmanship, and this is also a great difference between Germany and Australia. It's just a job in Australia. It's not a profession, and it doesn't get the appreciation it deserves. Whether you're a bricklayer or electrician or carpenter, they all look the same with silly high-vis clothing, and it's not an honorable profession. It's not tied to as much tradition as it is in Europe, and that's kind of sad.
The certification.
It's just a means to accrue wealth.
The certification is way too short to obtain, and
very
easily obtainable.
It even pays off to not be smart, but to just labor on site and get unreasonably much money for not enough product, for not enough service. It's this feeling of construction industry overpaid and underskilled. I would definitely second that. It's not good enough. If I was an Australian citizen, which I hopefully will be soon enough, I would say, hey, this is not good enough. People spend a lot of money, and all they get are poorly performing homes. Not good enough. So that's
we should
just how it is.
We should place emphasis on reforming the education and labour system to align with modern construction needs. Obviously, will take time, effort, and investment, and a lot of people like yourself to promote those theories across.
Often I feel like people are very unaware of how severe the situation is. Again, I want to emphasize that there are a lot of participants in the construction industry who want to promote a change for the good, for the better. I'm not the only one who does see it as drastically, as I just said. But the predominant approach is this very outdated approach, building on site, framing on site, with poor performance, little understanding of building science and building physics. And if there are tokenistic measures, and the industry occasionally prides itself by, we are raising standards, etc. It's all tokenistic. It's not really reinforced. It's not good enough. One moment the rating does get increased from 6 stars to 7 stars. It's already outdated. It's already not good enough. It's not future-proof. And there's often an emphasis on trying to reduce emissions instead of capping the initial energy consumption from the outset. So this should be an emphasis. not just, oh, let's try to limit emissions with some silly measures. You have to have a measurable and reinforceable mandates in place. And often there are still very vaguely phrased specifications and standards, for example around windows, and Australians keep doing shortcuts and do not really follow through thoroughly and meticulously. You still can acquire single glazed windows, or if double glazed windows are promoted, then the installation manuals of those windows are still fundamentally flawed, and you still have thermal bridges, and it's just not good enough. It's not comprehensive enough. The overall approach remains, let's just Humpty Dumpty it without changing significantly and comprehensively. And that gets me carried away sometimes. It remains non-value driven. It's very, very shallow and superficial and tokenistic, and it's not good enough in my opinion. It's not a systemic change. And,
I like the part where he said, Germany, the focus there is on ensuring homes for generations to come. The focus is on ensuring that homes are built for families and future generations, not as vehicles for accumulating wealth through, rental income. People build investment homes just for that purpose, not because they value well-built, sustainable homes. But just hurry up and give me something so I can rent it out.
Often people pride themselves here in Australia with, I replace my income by investment properties, etc. If you would talk like this publicly in Germany, it would be frowned upon. This is not desirable. You shouldn't even be proud of yourself by saying, I will not contribute anything to society anymore. I will just have someone who's paying off the mortgage of my property, and I will just spend someone else's money. So this is basically what it is, and this is not desirable. It's not sustainable. It's impossible, mathematically speaking, that this outcome can be achieved for everyone. It's simply not fair, and it's not desirable. Not really. And people putting up a facade and hypocritically pretending to be compassionate and all kinds of nonsense, and then actually everyone just is anxiously attached to some kind of home ownership and wants to get rich and an easy way to live. And the level of hedonism is much higher here in Australia, and this is not value driven. And the principle of solidarity in Germany is much more pronounced. You are much more limited in terms of living individually in Germany, but the principle of solidarity is very, very pronounced. And if you do not contribute to society, you're considered useless. This stems from, historically speaking, also from a long time ago when people were publicly shamed for not contributing to society. There's no species on Earth where individuals live in a social gathering and parts of the society are not contributing to society. It's just not. It's not desirable. It's not economically not feasible sustainably. It's.
Would you say that's that national pride, that being German, permeates through schooling, like prime school to college and ongoing, before you choose your chosen craft?
I'm not sure about that, but what also just crossed my mind. So it's easier to sell high quality in Germany because if you buy cheap, you buy twice. This is just how it is. And Australians might know that phrase, but it's not cultivated. Things are so cheap often and low quality that they don't last from one Boxing Day to the next. I often think all kinds of products you purchase in Australia, I often think this is not good enough. This can be made better. But of course, this is one way to keep an economy running. We're just building homes and all kinds of products, low grade, and if you have to replace it every now and then, okay, this is obviously one way to keep the economy growing, but it's not. It's not very.
For the long term,
For the long term,
it's not so
good.
great. Yeah. We've covered a lot. Let's talk about this. So, built. Okay, so Germany's seeing a steady increase in timber frame structures, which are more cost effective. So even in a brick-built home, the use of prefabricated elements ensures efficiency without compromising durability. Now, you were saying one fundamental difference in approach lies in how budgets are managed during the design phase. So in Germany, clients established a clear budget upfront, and architects are held accountable for ensuring that the design aligns with that budget. Deviations beyond 10% are generally not accepted, protecting clients from unexpected costs.
Accountability is a good word, and Australia lacks accountability across the board. So there is no accountability, and the clients are often left alone and sit on costs they haven't caused themselves. Instead, they embarked on a journey emotionally, trusted an architect, established a relationship, and are left alone. And architects are not held accountable legally if budgets are severely overrun, and that's not right. So in Germany, the end customer doesn't have a clue, doesn't know how to build a house. He just knows, okay, I want to have a house, and if I can get a house within this budget, okay, I get a loan for that, a mortgage for that. And the architect must meet those requirements. And you can achieve this certainty with standardization and more certainty in prefabrication, etc. And there's just no lavish design flair in terms of, okay, let's just design something for the sake of it. This is not the first priority in Germany. The priority is functionality and longevity and health, and not someone's design flair. It's not like we are in the Renaissance, where architects were engaged to have a creative flair without adding actual value to the project. This is not. It's not supposed to be like that.
Yeah, it's
historically speaking, it was always builders who built homes according to the most efficient material usage and construction methods at that time, no matter when in history. So in the Renaissance, it began with some architectural flair and extra creativity, and usually it was reserved for government and religious buildings to have some extra creativity, but normally always builders and craftspeople did build with the most efficient and effective measures at any given time.
Yeah, you were saying, in contrast, Australia, with the cost management often takes a reactive approach. Yeah, it's common to hear phrases like, let's drive the costs down after the design has already been completed.
Yeah, I've heard this so often. So the design is the greatest cost driver, the actual design, and nonsense like building a house with 5 bathrooms and stuff like that. A residential building doesn't need 5 bathrooms. It's unreasonable, amongst other design features and things. And saying afterwards, let's drive the costs down is a reactive approach. So you have to know what you are aiming for in advance, and not afterwards.
Yeah, because you were saying clients frequently invest significant time, money, and emotional attachment into bespoke designs, without a full understanding of the final cost. And then leading to redesigns and then re-engineering to meet budgets.
It's very inefficient and reactive, and you do things over and over again. And the people who are actually building the house are involved too late. Often I did have designs on my table and preliminary building permits and documentation were already finalized, and thought, yeah, okay, then there's not much I can do now. It's supposed to look like that. Yeah. It's there is no, oh, let's drive the costs down.
Yeah. We should really increase accountability in introducing value engineering at the beginning of the project. I think would benefit everybody involved.